Okay, so here we are on the League website to talk about patch 6.10. It wasn't that long ago that we were talking about patch 6.9, but luckily this one is much smaller than patch 6.10. I rushed the last episode of this, and it still was two 40-minute episodes, but this one, not a whole lot to talk about, but I'll still talk about it with you guys. So, first things first, Taliyah is coming out this patch. Or Taliyah. I think it's Taliyah. It doesn't matter. What do I think about her? I think that you guys shouldn't try her out in ranked. Please don't do that. And if you're playing ranked, I would probably ban her because her ult, just her ult, like her kit looks, it's kind of difficult. It's not so difficult that you won't be able to play it, but her ult can ruin whole games. So please don't rush her into ranks. Just try her out in normals if you do want to play her. That's about it on my opinion on her. I actually don't like her that much with her lore stuff. I don't really get that much into the lore, but sometimes I read it. But she doesn't like Azir, and I really like Azir as far as lore is concerned. I don't play him, of course, because I'm a jungler, but just some fun facts for you. So she can piss off. But as far as gameplay wise on her, if you haven't seen her champion spotlight, I recommend you guys go watch that. Obviously her abilities aren't here and I can't really read through them. She looks like she's a little difficult to play, but it's just mainly her ult. Her ult is such a big deal. It can mess up late game team fights so easily, like way worse than Jarvan's. Just think about what Jarvan's ult sometimes does, and her ult always does that. So just be careful. Alistar, they lowered his R damage reduction. This is a change that's gone back and forth. I remember them changing this back and forth all the time. Like, well, not all the time, but ever since like season 2, I'd say this happens so much, whether they put it back and forth. I guess they thought Alistar was too good, so they did this. Okay, I didn't think Alistar was that. Maybe in professional play, maybe that was it. I think he's good, but that'll definitely hurt him a little bit. Anivia, I think they gave her some buffs. Yeah. Like I said in the last one, they really nerfed her ultimate. Like we said in the last episode, even though at the when it got fully charged, it was better, it was still a big nerf to her ult, so they kind of buffed that. They made the cost go down, the cast range increase, the initial radius increase, and you can use Zonya as well using your ult. So just some little buffs that she probably needed because, like I said in the last patch analysis, they really nerfed her ult. So they gave her some tweaks there. Aurelion Soul, they nerfed Aurelion. Kind of annoyed by this. I was picking up Aurelion Soul because he was actually really good. These nerfs aren't major. They're big nerfs, but they're not like game breaking, and they're definitely not little nerfs, I guess. The W cooldown, they made it higher they made the cooldown more at later ranks. So at max rank, it's actually up a whole 2 seconds, which is really big. And then also his ult, it went down 50 damage at every rank. Once again, 50 damage may not seem like a lot, but it's definitely significant. It's the best way I can describe it. Cassiopeia, they gave Cassiopeia some buffs. Remember in the last patch analysis, I said that Cassiopeia is probably pretty good, but she wasn't seeing much play. I recommend you guys try out Cassiopeia. I think she's pretty strong. Her Q range went, I won't read all of this. They basically buffed her Q and buffed her W. And before, like I said, she was good. She just wasn't super OP and people weren't playing her. But I do recommend you guys try her out. I think she is pretty good right now. I haven't played her, so I could be totally wrong. But as far as the numbers look and how her stuff looks, it seems like she would be good right now. So I'd recommend playing Cassiopeia. Fiddlesticks, a slight nerf for Fiddlesticks. They made his E go down 1 bounce. I did mention this in the last one that his E bouncing 7 times was a really big buff to Jungle Fid. So they nerfed it a little bit so that he was pretty dominant. He was a very good jungler. He still is going to be good. 1 bounce isn't going to ruin him, but it should slim off some of his OP power, I guess. And they gave him a new animation. I haven't actually seen that, but I'm excited to see him turn into a scarecrow. Fizz, they pretty much did what Zed's ult already did with Fizz, kind of. Not really, but cleansing Chum the Waters no longer detaches the shark from the target, pretty much. So if you cleanse or QSS or whatever while Fizz ults you, the slow is removed. However, the shark's still going to hit you. So Fizz, I think this is a really big buff. I'm pretty sure Fizz is going to be OP on this patch, and they're going to have to nerf him by next patch. But if you guys want to play Fizz, I've been playing him some. He's definitely a strong pick. He's stronger in mid than he is in jungle. However, he does work in the jungle too if you want to do that, especially with the new item. He's pretty good in the jungle. The Proto Belt, that's what I'm talking about with him. Alawi, W cooldown down. Just some buffs for Alawi. Alawi is not really viable. She hasn't really been viable. She's been alright, but not a strong pick. So they're probably going to keep sliding in these little buffs on Alawi until she's good. Lower cooldown at all ranks. That's a buff. Jinx. Just a little buff for Jinx. Okay. Well, the Rocket attacks faster level 1, but scales worse with attack speed. So they're giving her some more early game power and making her fall off just a little bit late game, which is kind of what Jinx needs. Jinx is very strong actually late game, but league games just end before late game. I mean, you guys probably know that League is in such a snowbally state right now that if you don't impact the map early and get a lead early, there's very little chance that you're actually going to win a game. So they're trying to switch Jinx around to where she can do more early. I like that for Jinx. I don't really care about Jinx. I don't play Jinx, but should help her out a little bit. Malzahar, they actually hotfix nerfed him. I don't know the specifics on the hotfix. I didn't read them, but they hotfix nerfed him, and now there's another nerf on the Malzahar's passive. Like I said, this just emphasizes what I said in the last episode, where I said that Malzahar is better played as a laner than he is in the jungle. That's what this means too. Just play him in lane. He can clear the jungle, but it's like, why would you? It's like Yorick jungle or something. I don't know. There are pretty much every champion in the game can clear the jungle with the right setup, but some of them are just better in lane, and that's where Malzahar is. I still think he's good too, by the way. This didn't kill him. You want to play Malzahar, unless he's still permanently banned, you should try it. Master Yi, they gave Master Yi some buffs. This is fine because with the removal of Say to Devour, and they actually nerfed Master Yi like 4 patches in a row before they removed Devour. So he probably needs these buffs. I don't play Master Yi. I haven't seen any Master Yis. I don't really care if they buff him or not, but they are buffs. They made his W heal him more with ability power, and they made his E true damage go up. This means that when you buy Gunsar's Rage Blade, you're going to be hitting a little bit bigger power spikes, pretty much all this means. Nocturne and Shyvana, they kind of did the exact same thing. They threw an AP ratio on these two champions' passives, and the reason they did that was because, like they say, you get a little bit of AP through some items. Before, it was Triforce that was really notorious for it, but now Rage Blade, if you happen to get that. I don't think you should do that on Nocturne, but if you wanted to, Rage Blade, Baron buff definitely gives you it. So now, with a little bit of an AP scaling, they didn't take away either of their AD scaling. It's just an additional AP scaling, so all it can do is help them, but it's not a huge buff. However, it'll help them a little bit, pretty much, is what. Then they did pretty much the exact same thing. Nocturne's passive and Shyvana's W now additionally scales with some ability power, both of them. Swain, they gave Swain some buffs. They made his health per level go up and his Ahri heal him more. Swain, almost the exact same case as Cassiopeia. I think they're pretty good. I just don't think they're overpowered, and people haven't really been playing them, but it might even be like Alawi. They might keep sliding in small buffs here and there until they finally become meta. That's just what this is. They actually buffed his health growth stat by 12, which is pretty big deal. 12 every single level is a lot of, it adds up to a lot of health. His Q now execute minions, so it won't miss last hits. That's pretty convenient. And his R healing is up, like I said. So once again, not huge buffs, but they're probably going to keep buffing Swain until he's played, so that's what these are. Taric, they made Taric's ult a little bit more visible, which everyone has been complaining about that. Whether you're on Taric's team or against him, everyone's been, I mean, I've seen it all the time. People complain about how difficult it is to actually tell when Taric's ult's doing what. So they tried to make that a little bit more clear with clarity. So that should be good for when you're for just Taric in general. It's good against him and it's good versus him. Tryndamere, they kind of changed how Tryndamere's ult works. I mean, they didn't really change how it works, but they kind of did. So before, how Tryndamere's ult worked was it would keep you at 1 life, and then when it ended, it would move you to 3% of your life, 3% of Tryndamere's life, and then you could also heal with your Q right afterwards or whatever. But now it just holds Tryndamere at around 3% of his life. See, it's almost always around this life. So it just holds you around there instead of at the 1 health, and then it doesn't heal you itself. You would still need to heal with his Q afterwards. So, like I said, even though technically they changed it, they really didn't do that much to it. Vel'Koz, they gave Vel'Koz some, well, okay, yeah, they gave him some buffs. I don't think you need, I think Vel'Koz is extremely overpowered. I mean, obviously I haven't seen a lot of Vel'Kozes. I haven't seen a huge Vel'Koz win rate or anything, but just on paper, an ultimate that does fully treat it should be overpowered. So they buffed Vel'Koz. Once again, he's kind of like Cassiopeia and Swain. I recommend you try playing him. I think he's strong. He might not be strong, but on paper, he should be very strong right now. Vlad, they gave Vlad some buffs overall, which is pretty good. Vlad really, I mean, they tried to make it to where taking out Spell Vamp wouldn't really hurt him, but it definitely did, and they need to, I don't know, like I said, it's still true, Vlad will win 1v1s pretty much. He always wins 1v1s, but he's so iffy in team fights and with ganks and stuff. I don't know. They're buffing him though. Maybe this buff will help him a lot. If not, I don't know. He needs them. He needs some buffs. Kind of in the same spot as most of these other mages where they're just giving him slight buffs. I'll probably do the same thing with Vlad. Instead of hugely buffing him, they'll keep sliding in little buffs until he's viable. Zyra, they kind of nerfed her passive speeds, or her passive seeds. You can step on them quicker. Just a little more counterplay to Zyra. I know that Zyra was really oppressive in the bot lane. At least that's what I've heard. I don't play bot lane, so I wouldn't know. But, yeah, this is definitely a bot lane Zyra nerf, because making it to where people can step on the seeds faster when there's 2 enemies to step on it, that actually really will impact it. So a little bit of nerf for Zyra in the bot lane. And they gave Tristana some new arts, which is pretty neat. I really like the, this one is really weird. I like it, but I don't think anyone thought that this is what they were doing with Riot Girl Tristana, but that one's pretty neat. They gave this one big ass ears. That's all I can tell that they changed on it. And I actually own this skin, and I like what they did with it. So, gave Tristana new skins. They reduced the size of red and blue buff respawn icons. That's fine, I guess. This is such a stupid change. I mean, I guess they wanted to do it. I guess it makes things a little bit more clear, but like, who cares? Why would they even include this in the patch notes? I don't know. But now the icons are a little bit smaller, so they take up a little bit less of the minimap. They worked with the first minion wave. They have to do this so often. They're trying to make the first minion wave to where it doesn't bias towards one team, because that can completely ruin high level 1v or like really high elo lane matchups will just get completely ruined by the randomness of first minion wave. So they keep trying to lower that down. This is what that is. Mountain Drake, they slightly nerfed it, not really, but I mean they made it to where it no longer amplifies true damage against monsters and structures. So that means basically your smite doesn't do more damage when you get Mountain Drake, which I didn't even know it did that in the first place. But now it definitely doesn't. So a little bit easier to calculate your smites, I guess. I don't think this is a really big nerf. Now Ocean Drake, they changed it, I guess, but this made Ocean Drake like as bad as Cloud Drake. I still think Ocean Drake's better than Cloud Drake, but they both kind of suck now, because they made this one out of combat as well, if you're not damaged by a champion or a tower in the last 5 seconds. So this doesn't actually affect junglers, which is pretty neat, because it's champion or tower, but still out of combat stats just aren't that great. I mean, they're like I've always said, they do help and they are buffs, but it's just shouldn't be out of combat. They should have made Cloud Drake in combat, and they're moving away from in combat, but whatever. It just makes Ocean Drake a little bit weaker. And actually, if you guys have been watching me, or I mean, if you've been paying attention, I've been saying that Olaf was really good, and I figured out why. It's because his W amplifies all healing received, and he was amplified. Like if you got a couple of Ocean Drakes on Olaf, and then you used your W, you would get this massive health regen just from having Ocean Drake buff. which of course won't happen in fights anymore. So yeah, it's a nerf. It's a pretty big nerf to Ocean Drake. I don't think that they should make a bunch of things out of combat. I think since they're trying to make people fight all the time, you know, that's what these new jungle timers do. They try to make you contest every buff. League is all about early game fights and everything. Why are they making stuff out of combat? I don't really understand it, but that's what they're doing, and it's a nerf to Ocean Drake. Turrets now take less true damage when the backdoor bonus is in effect. Okay, so this is, you know, turrets, they get a huge buff when minions aren't around. That's what the backdoor bonus is. They get like 300 armor and magic resist. And now they take a little bit less true damage when they're in this backdoor bonus as well. I guess I hadn't seen it, but I guess there was some champion who could abuse Mountain Drake red buff, run up and take turrets without any minions. I hadn't seen it, but that's what they're hinting at was happening. Blood Razor, they buffed, but oh yeah, this, and no, that's it. But this actually is a really big buff to Kindred. I mean, obviously it's a buff to anyone that wants to get a Blood Razor because the attack speed is up and the percentage target's life is up. But now, once again, I really wish they would nerf Kindred really hard. I get tired of seeing Kindred being the best jungler. Like with Nidalee, they're both almost always the best junglers. It's just annoying. But this is a really big buff to Kindred, is what it is. So if you guys want to play Kindred, have at it. Blood Razor makes it a lot better for him. Obviously, like I said, it buffs any champion that wants to get Blood Razor, but this, like, Kindred was still fine on last patch, and now this is a big buff for them, is all I'm trying to say. Barrier, I like this change. They tried to make Barrier worth the shit because, you know, if anyone thinks, oh, I want Barrier, then they take Heal instead. So they're trying to make it to where Barrier is a little bit better. And Ghost, they buffed Ghost since they removed the Distortion enchantment, which is pretty cool. I don't know. I feel like Ghost is in this place where they want people to kind of give up Flash, but there's only like, you could probably count them on one hand how many champions can actually give up Flash for Ghost. Like Olaf jungle, Tryndamere top, Nasus top sometimes does it. Like, it's not a very long list. It's really hard to actually get rid of Flash and take Ghost instead. So maybe this buff will make it a little bit better to take Ghost. Honestly, I just think that Flash is far superior to Ghost, but whatever. And then this doesn't really affect any of you guys probably, but they helping really high elo players with timers, and they introduced new champion mastery, which is pretty cool. But the thing about these are that they're actually pretty hard to get, which I like. Like, champion mastery to level 5 you can get just by spamming the champion a lot. You don't actually have to be good at them, you just play them a lot and you'll get it. But for 6 you have to get at least an S-, and for 7 you actually have to get an S already when you hit level 6. So that just means that it's gonna, either you can farm them up in normals with your friends where it's really easy to get high ranks, or if you actually play ranks and get it through that, it's really going to show your skill on champion. So I like that. And that's about it. Bug fixes and some new skins. By the way, I like the Fizz skin. I don't really like either one of these, if you wanted my opinion on this. But that's it. See, this episode was a lot shorter. Long story short, they didn't want to change a lot. They gave a lot of the mages that weren't performing well slight buffs, so I recommend trying those out. And they kind of weakened most of the higher level mages. And they're releasing Taliyah. Do not play Taliyah in ranks. That's the one message I want you guys to take from this patch notes. And that's going to be it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.